everyone, and welcome to the Mary DeCosta Tribute. My name is April Anderson-Zorn, and now, without further ado, here is your host, Elke VanDyke.
The illustrious Mary DeCosta, a 38-year career as educator in drama, English, and creative writing, co-created the District 1 Thespians chapter in Northwest Florida, selected as 1 in 15 participants to study Shakespeare in Stratford upon Avon with the Royal Shakespeare Company in 1994, awarded Teacher of the Year in 2005, and opened our eyes to the world around us through the lens of words, the stage, and countless plays, including the majority of Shakespeare's canon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elke VanDyke, and I graduated from Woodham High School in 1996. My senior year, I won 5 university scholarships at the Florida State Thespian Competition, one of them taking me to New York City. 10 years later, when DeCosta retired, I took over her position at Woodham, teaching the same theater program she taught me. 1 year later, when Woodham closed, I returned to my theater company in New York City, got my master's degree, and continue to act, direct, and teach teenagers Shakespeare professionally. Every step of my career is linked back to one woman's encouragement and support, and that is the same amazing being that brings us here today. Over the past 9 months since DeCosta's passing, I have had the honor of speaking and texting with many of you, or smiling and reminiscing at the stories that you've been sharing on the Facebook group. But the comments that stand out the most are how she gave us a safe haven and excluded no one. She took in the misunderstood, the weird, the misfits, the rebellious, the ones who were struggling at home. She spoke teenager as if it was her native language, and then set a learning structure for us to find our freedom of expression within and develop into the people who we are today. In the classroom, she was the iron fist, clad in 4-inch nails and dripping in silver rings, but with love and care, and most importantly, humor. She called us on our faults that we weren't ready to acknowledge, then made us grow. She made us laugh, feel proud, question everything, get mad, cry, push harder, be better, do better, take care of each other. Perhaps we were graced with the titles of Boy Wonder, Deer in Headlights, The Lost Boys, or Box of Rocks. Perhaps the warning tales of Finger in the Ocean or Blue Angel Disease was in order to be told or retold. But every word was meant to push and challenge us to be the most authentic versions of ourselves. We waited in the wings. We dodged 5-inch heels, catapulting through the air. We gave everything we had to learn how to work together as a team. No excuses. Although she may be illustrious, it is much more detailed in how she touched each of our lives, but somewhere within the group's collective words, we find the story of who she was to us individually. Welcome to what would have been Mary's 76th birthday and her tribute. start us off, we will be hearing from Mary's friends and colleagues, the first being DeCosta's best friend since they were 12 years old, Marsha Werst, who is here in the audience with us this evening, but decided to be filmed for her speech. Afterwards, we will hear from everybody else live. And without further ado, Marsha.
I am Marsha Werst, and my best buddy for years and years was Mary Clark DeCosta. We have been friends for over 60 years. She is a very special memory always in my life, in my heart. It's a great story. She came from New Jersey, where their school system was bright. I came from Baltimore, Maryland, when my school system was bright. Mary and I knew everything about everything except maybe geography. That was the only thing I didn't know something about. But we were both way ahead, and so we spent our time playing, giggling, passing notes, and getting in, annoying everybody else, I guess. But this is one little redneck town from, and Mary and I did not fit at all. Homeroom, they sent around a note and it says, "I hate Mary Clark and Marsha Hoffler." And they all signed it. I mean, the whole freaking homeroom class, because we were having too much fun. That's the only thing I can think. We were too smart and too much fun. So anyway, but they changed after a while. I mean, we did make friends with our classmates. She lived in a single wide trailer that had her mom, her dad, her mom's monkey, and they had goats and they had chickens. And it really wasn't that far out of town. I mean, it was pretty close. We walked there from my place, which was a block from the school, because her job at home was to go milk the goat. Now, I know Miss Sophisticated Mary DeCosta. I just can't picture that people who know her or knew her as school people could picture her sitting on a stool milking goats. Father figure was Arthur. Father was quiet, nice. He let me drive his truck. Mary refused to, but I could drive it. So we would load up and go to the drive-in theater in her dad's truck. And we would throw all kinds of people in the back of that truck. Her mom was a total honey, total honey. And she and my mom became friends. And one time the four of us, went camping. And we wound up, we were supposed to be going to Juniper Springs, and they were full. And of course, now it's getting dark. And we've got, we're there. So we wound up at a lake close enough by. Mary and I slept on the cement with, I guess we had sleeping blankets. I'm not sure what we had. Next morning, we went for a walk and we found these fishermen and they gave us their fish. So Mary and I thought we were hot stuff. We got fish. We carried those home, took pictures, told everybody we caught all those fish. Mary's mom and my mom could be as silly as Mary and me. So we used to sit with that top 100 and we would go through every one of those songs and we would, needless to say, okay, Dick Clark. We watched Bandstand. We knew every one of those guys and who they were dating and when they were breaking up. And we were totally into Bandstand. She could sit down at a piano, hear a tune, and pick it out on the piano without having the notes in front of her. We were in an art class, and the teacher put us out by the road and wanted us to draw a picture of the house across the street. A house across the street. Mary's was perfect. Mary's was absolutely the house across the street. And her picture, and I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it was the house and the flowers and the yard and the whole thing. And it was perfect. And she, she did later on, definitely, and even in her theater work, because I know she was painting all of her backdrops and doing all of her stuff for the plays. I did talk her into a talent show that we had in high school. And she absolutely nailed it. I can't remember what song she sang. I didn't do anything. I cheered her on then. You do it. You can do it. You're the greatest. We know that. You can listen to yourself sing. So I coached her. She coached me. We were in the junior class play together, and we both wanted the same role. She was in a play up at the junior college, and she played a part of somebody that was all tattooed, totally tattooed. Kind of a dramatic role. I know Mike and I went and saw it, but that had to have been, oh my God. But again, her acting, like I said, the junior class play was our starting point. And she got the role that we both wanted, but I got the starring role. She went off to FSU. FSU has a mandatory semester that they had to be at that time, a semester in circus. Well, Mary, who really didn't have an athletic bone in her body, wound up being one of the girls that climbed the ropes, and she was hanging from the ropes and doing the rope tricks and stuff, whatever she had to do up there. And that just kind of cracked me up. But she studied. I mean, she was an English major, and she was very good at being an English major. That was, she was always. She could put her and Tom both. They'd sit down there with a crossword puzzle, and they would kill it. I mean, they would just, nail that crossword puzzle. Now granted, they're in this trailer. They did get to build a house, but to go to Florida State, you better have either money or a scholarship or something. Mary, at $25 a week, mind you, Mary went to the A&W and put on her roller skates, and she was a server at the A&W. And she was able to get herself to college on her money and whatever her mom and dad had saved for her. She came back as a hippie with the hair and the whole kit and caboodle, and she would just hang out. I mean, she would just come, walk in the house, head to my refrigerator, see what I had, come back out, and we would chat and do whatever. And it was because she was so worldly wise and had done so many things. I mean, I was podunk from podunk, and I was like, how did you do that? Why did you do that? How do you do that? I talked her into getting herself back to teaching, and she put on a play in middle school with the middle school students. She put on Meet Me in St. Louis. She did Meet Me in St. Louis with a bunch of junior high, middle school kids. So I mean, she started with that very young too. I mean, she was adult. She was probably 25, 26 by then. I don't know. Tom was very good at doing stuff for Mary. Tom fixed her pills. Tom fixed her coffee. Tom was very devoted to Mary. And so Mary enjoyed all that. And, he kind of let her do what she wanted to do. I mean, with all the theater and all the going and then the trips that she made with the theater groups and all that, he never gave her any lip at all about her going and doing. And, I think he was very proud of her. And I think that made her proud of herself, proud of, and I know she was very confident with what she was doing. And I don't think I never saw her be not sure of herself with all of that. She did good work, and she knew she did good work. She's got a Halloween village. I mean, big. that she would put together. And I know they would have Halloween parties up there. But again, that was long after, I was still here or somewhere, and she was up in Pensacola. And I know if anybody's been over to that house of hers in the last 15, 20 years, there's always been at least 3, 4 dogs, maybe more, and cats and birds. And she was raising parakeets and finches and everything under the sun. She rescued a parakeet that mom had thrown out of the nest, okay? And she brought it with her because she's feeding it by hand up to us in North Carolina when she came up to visit. Well, nothing would do, but she wound up leaving that bird with me. We named it Spiky. And Spiky, because it was hand raised, was the coolest bird ever known to man. One time we were in the boat and Mike had pulled, there was a chameleon in the boat. My husband picked it up, threw it in the water. Mary lost it. She started crying. Oh, the chameleon's dead. It's gonna die. Someone's gonna eat it. Mike and I never got over that. Yes, we want to save everything, Mary. We're not taking him home and putting him out of the boat. He can be fed to a fish. A fish is gonna live. One year when we were down visiting them for Thanksgiving, the turkey wasn't thawed. And somewhere there's a picture of that turkey that Tom put into the pool, and it went around the pool and around the pool until it got thawed. And it made a great picture because it was like, who's gonna believe this is how you thaw turkey? She had bought a red convertible Mustang. Wait a minute. She took that Mustang and her dog and went up camping by herself all along the Blue Ridge Parkway. And camping by herself with only a dog when she was, I don't know, 30, whatever. She came back from that trip, sold us the Mustang for like $500. Okay. So we're thrilled to death. We have this red Mustang convertible. We take it over to the beach. And one night we decided to go from New Smyrna up to Daytona to go to one of the restaurants. We had a nice trip and a nice meal. We got back in that car and there were palmetto bug roaches running hither, thither, and yon, all over the place. I took an hour slamming my feet down, bam, 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 to keep them at bay till we got back. And then in the daylight, we saw in the trunk of the car, she had left a bag of sugar and some food. So she had chummed them all up for us before she sold us the car. But we found a lot of common ground just in probably humor and being sassy, and could all pick on each other in a wonderful way. And we would actually find things to all do together. We would, travel here and travel there. I mean, we would go from the mountains up to Gatlinburg and see Cades Cove and some of the mountainy stuff. And I don't know how we grew quite close all in all. Mary Clark DeCosta and me have been friends for over 60 years. What is so special is that we were able to survive each other. We would argue, we would have times when we wouldn't talk, but then we were always there for each other. I was the wind beneath her wings. She was the wind beneath my wings. She was a unique individual with so much talent and so much pizzazz. I will miss her.
Mary DeCosta was an awesome theater teacher and the best of friends. She was sophisticated, highly intelligent, fearless, artistic, generous, and loving. I'm Alita Brooks, I taught theater at Pensacola High School while Ms. DeCosta was teaching theater at Woodham. Many of you may remember me from our shared travels to State Thespians and Busch Gardens. During your life, you may never know how many people's lives who you've touched, but with Ms. DeCosta's 38 years of teaching, she literally touched thousands. Mary and I really got to know each other on a long 14-hour drive back from a theater conference in Miami. She drove. She loved to drive. And we found that we had a lot in common. We both were passionate about teaching theater, loved animals, and could talk for hours about philosophy and life. So we became friends and summer travel buddies, going to national theater conferences in various cities like Chicago, where we discovered that we loved Thai food, and St. Louis, whose zoo has to be the happiest animals in the world. Ms. DeCosta was fearless, worked tirelessly, and loved a challenge. She helped Ms. Timmons from Gulf Breeze set up the very first thespian festival in this area at the University of West Florida. Ms. Timmons out front coordinating, and Ms. DeCosta in the back room tallying scores. She was also fearless in her play selection, from Sartre to Tina Howe to Shakespeare. No play was ever too difficult for her or for her students. Consequently, her plays were of the highest quality, and her contest one-acts often among the best in the state. Her fearlessness and striving for excellence would not go unnoticed. It led her to be selected from candidates throughout the United States as one of the few to spend a summer in England studying Shakespeare in the Royal Academy, in the Royal Shakespeare Company, every theater teacher's dream. She directed over 20 different Shakespearean plays throughout her career, often setting them in a more modern time or place to better connect with today's students. Locally, her excellence was also recognized by being named Escambia Teacher of the Year, the highest honor a teacher can get. Her husband even had a special license plate made for her car to celebrate the occasion. Mary was always generous and caring, whether it was hand feeding a rescued baby bird or listening to a student in need. She worked tirelessly with students, both after school and sometimes on weekends, to help them to perfect their performances. Well liked and admired by her fellow theater teachers, she was always ready to share a laugh, lend a costume, share a technique, or help in any other way that she could. She even shared her stage with PHS for 2 years and let us perform there, while our stage was damaged by Hurricane Ivan. I've always admired Mary's zest for life, her adventurous spirit, and her ability to empathically connect with people and animals. After each National Theater Conference, Mary and I would visit either a zoo or an aquarium in the city. One of my favorite moments is seeing her tapping on the cage, connecting with the birds, and then watching the birds respond to her as if they'd known her all their lives. She had that ability with people too, which made her the best of friends. I know she would feel humbled and surprised by the unexpected honor of the celebration, and especially by the thespian scholarships her students have established in her name as a living legacy. Even though Mary may never have known how many lives she has touched, she will live in our hearts forever.
Hi, I'm Bill Vincent. I taught math at Woodham during the entire time that Mary was there. She was an amazing teacher and she taught me so much, but more than that, what she meant to Woodham High School and the things that she brought to it and the reputation of the drama department and her joy of life were just unequaled. I don't think there was a program in North Florida that could compete with her as far as the drama department goes. Her courage to do full-length Shakespeare every year was something that I don't think anyone else could have possibly tried to do. The lessons that the kids learned in the North Lecture Room was just amazing. The magic that went on there will live with them forever. She even had the courage to do faculty plays. We started that a few years ago before she retired, where we would get faculty and students together to do plays. And the students were able to learn how to work with an adult, how to direct an adult, and yet then turn around and go back in the classroom and go back into the student role. That was a lesson that I don't think that could ever surpass in any other way. She had an amazing love of life. I don't think I've known anyone who ever loved life more than she did. She used to have a philosophy that she got from her mother, that every day she wanted to make a memory. And she incorporated that into her teaching. All of the experiences that she tried to build for her students, she tried to build them in such a way that they would have a memory that would go on for them for the rest of their life. And I think she accomplished that. One of the things that I think a lot of kids got in there was the ability to work as a team. One of the things that I learned growing up in sports was how to rely on other people and have other people rely on me. And this is one of the greatest gifts that Mary gave to her students. And it's something that I think will serve them for the rest of their life and will make the world around them better.
Okay, hi, I'm Becky McFerrin. And before we get started, do you remember the buttons that Mary used to make? There was a button machine someplace. And I found two of them. One was a Woodham Titan button, but this one says, "You're not an actor if you don't have the bruises to prove it." And I still have it. And it was a wonderful thing that she did. I started teaching with Mary when she came to Woodham in 1984 until I retired in 2002. And we all know that Mary taught English. She taught gifted, she taught creative writing, in addition to drama. But I don't think anybody has mentioned this yet, but she told me, she said, "Look, I have a degree in art." And I think it was maybe a minor in art, but she said, "Don't you ever tell anybody, because I don't want the administration to know, because I don't want to teach art." So I kept my mouth shut about it. Mary took over the drama program, and it really, really grew. As everybody it's already been pointed out, she started the tradition of doing a different Shakespearean play every year. And the thing about how she got to study at Stratford upon Avon was, I received the application for some reason. I was teaching AP English at the time, but I was teaching 11th grade, which was all, as you know, American literature. And so I wrote the National Endowment for the Humanities back and said, "Look, I don't qualify for this, but I know who does in this school." And I wrote this glowing letter about Mary. And I like to think that one of the reasons, besides her enormous talent, was that I wrote the letter. And that's how she went to Stratford. Mary was an extremely talented director. She could do makeup and teach people how to do makeup. But there was one area in which she was genius, and that was stage set design. If you remember the stage at Woodham, it was tiny. There were no wings. There was no backstage. There was no place to store costumes. There was no technical booth where we had no professional lighting. But Mary made magic on that stage. I think Bill Vincent had a lot to do with it too, because they worked together on it. But she designed a set for Brighton Beach Memoirs that had the living room in period time, World War II, with a second story bedroom visible that the actors could go upstairs and act from. It was amazing. She was a genius at stage set design. The drama program grew so much that she kind of nudged me. Well, she pushed me into directing. And she helped me. I was scared to death the first time. She said, "It's time for you to put your stuff in front of the public," which I did. Thank God she helped me. I'd like to say I really learned more from Mary about teaching than I ever learned in any educational course that I took in college. Just practical things about how you handle students, how you get people to do stuff, how you motivate people. And in conclusion, I'll be brief. She was the Queen Mary. She was a drama queen, and she was a truly unforgettable character.
Kids are bad nowadays. You should see these people work. You should see these people work together as a team. You should see how they care about each other. And you would understand that in this department anyway, there are a whole lot of kids who work together and care.
I wrote my speech this morning. I have been fretting about what I'm going to say, judging it's not good enough, honoring her enough. I haven't been able to get consecutive words down. And as I've been working on the tribute and the scholarship all these months, I haven't taken it in. And this morning, I was woken up by the loudest boom of thunder, which took me into this lucid state of dreaming, and I don't ever remember my dreams. And there she was, and Tom was standing right behind her, both of them looking straight into my eyes. And she took a step forward, leaning towards me, light in her eyes, giving me the biggest side smile smirk. That was a cross between being really proud of me and saying, will you just let it go and get on with it? She said nothing, and she didn't have to. And then I woke up, tears puddled in my eyes, crying, finally taking it in and letting it go. In my freshman yearbook, DeCosta wrote, "Rest up because we're going to work like mad." I thought she meant until the end of my senior year, not indefinitely. In 2006, during one of my visits home, I walked into the Woodham drama room. She was sitting at her desk stage left, and she whipped her head around and she said, "Finally, there she is. You want my job? I'm retiring. You should take my job." She made me the teacher that you want to learn from, not my bachelor's, not my master's, but her. DeCosta told me once, "I am a bulldog with a bone, and my determination and loyalty is my greatest trait." In the same breath, she held out her hands and she said, "Elke, inside your hands is a baby bird. Now, if you hold the baby bird too tight, what's going to happen? I'll smush the baby bird or kill the baby bird. Now what you have to do is hold the baby bird gently so it can breathe and grow and fly." From then, right through adulthood, all DeCosta had to say was, "Elke, baby bird." Now, this morning in my dream, she didn't say baby bird, but she sure as hell looked like she was saying baby bird. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and I'm so grateful it was her shoulders that bolstered me up. Pardon. I am who I am today because of her. She was my teacher, my mentor, my colleague, my second mother figure, my friend. She taught me to be fearless, but never lose integrity. She taught me to allow my vulnerability to be my strength, to live by no excuses. And for the love of God, as you learn your speech, to never ever say, "I know my lines." But there is one speech, no matter what Shakespeare verse I have memorized in the past or will in the future, that I will never forget. And I bet you won't either.
Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue.
But if you mouth it, as many of your players do, I had as lief the town crier spoke my lines.
Nor do not saw the air too much with your hands thus, but use all gently.
For in the very torrent, tempest, and as I may say, whirlwind of your passion,
you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness. Oh, it offends me to the soul to hear a robustious, periwig-pated fellow tear a passion to tatters, to very rags.
To split the ears of the groundlings, who for the most part are capable of nothing but inexplicable dumb shows and noise.
I would have such a fellow whipped for overdoing Turgament. it out Herod's Herod. Pray you, avoid it.
I'm honored to be in the company of this wonderful party for Mary's birthday tribute. Good evening. My name is Sonia. I met Mary in 1973 at Eustis Middle School. I was one of the lucky ones. I got to experience her knowledge and her friendship for 2 years, and it was a wonderful 2 years. Our love for animals is what linked us together. His name was Ralph. He was a 15-pound bunny, and he was a bully. He had beaten up a dog, and Mary needed to find a home for him. So Ralph came to live with me, and he loved our female bunnies. Perhaps it was Ralph that led me through the rabbit's hole into the world of Wonderland for the next few years. And Mary completed the cast. Harsh as the Queen of Hearts, surprising as the Cheshire Cat, and mad as the Hatter. It was always an adventure. Her classes were great. She made learning fun and enjoyable. For example, to take something as simple as a newspaper and make it interesting. Maybe this is why I still have my love for reading the newspaper. One day, she decided that we were going to do a 9-week report on any subject we picked. Well, I picked the occult and the supernatural. Boy, did I open Pandora's box, because this is tiny little Eustis, Florida, and it was taboo. Well, we did turn some heads, but that was something that Mary liked to do. There were many fun times, and there were a few bitter. Loved riding in her MG white convertible. We were both fashion divas, exchanging fashion secrets, admiring each other's jewelries, and then who could forget about the nails? You always had to have the nails done. Pet rocks, and I think we all had a part of that. She had so many unique qualities. With all that's good, there is a few uglies. The shoe toss or the eraser throw, which either one was convenient, normally a shoe. Her remarks and comments on your assignment papers. I'll never forget returning from Christmas, boy. She knocked me out with this one. I was so excited wearing my new outfit. It was so bright and colorful. I was just knowing she was going to love it. As I walked in the door, she looked at me and she goes, "Wow, did Disney just puke all over you?" Yeah, wow, that was a zinger. She knew how to get your attention. 8th grade, 1975. I was 14 and I didn't have my mind on English. She was handing out report cards. As she called my name, I walked up to her desk. And as she proceeded to tell me how much she loved me, she wrote a big F right across my report card. Yeah, she got my attention all right. I would like to read you a quote from Fred Rogers. When I read this, it made me think of Mary. As human beings, our job in life is to help people realize how rare and valuable each one of us really is, that each one of us has something that no one else has or ever will have, something inside that is unique at all times. It is our job to encourage each other to discover that uniqueness and to provide a way to develop its expression. She taught us many things, built our self-esteem, and that uniqueness was cool. What a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me be a part of this gala event, Mary's celebration of life. She was truly an inspiration to all of us. Happy birthday, beautiful lady. You were my kid.
Hello, friends. My name is Terry Johns. I graduated in 1989. Allow me to begin with 2 quotes. She did love a good quote. From Beckett's Endgame, I use the words you taught me. If they don't mean anything anymore, teach me others, or let me be silent. And the one DeCosta quote that has become my mantra in life: empty vessels make the most noise, usually snarled through her teeth at a rowdy student. It was a luck It was lucky or blessing or just the way things had to be. But for every year from 1985 until 1989, I was in 2 of her classes every day. In my senior year, don't know how I finagled it, but I was in her classroom or the theater 3 times in a day. I guess you would say I had a well-rounded education. An uninspired and boring textbook class is not what I needed, and my grades proved it. But I do want to thank Mr. Vincent for that C. I needed to absorb stories and characters in life. The wit and snark of Mary DeCosta was the catalyst I needed to learn. English, creative writing, speech, and of course, drama 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then in my senior year, an extra directing class just thrown in. It kept me on campus, I think. I needed to be on that scruffy little stage looking at those god-awful rusty green chairs. No backstage, wings big enough for what? 5 teenagers waiting for their cues. Well, we made do with that space for a lot more than just waiting on cues. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. But the education I got from her, it didn't take place with any real concrete structure. It was there in the classroom, but it lived while riding shotgun in Tom's fancy Cadillac on the way to an FTC, or squeezed into her then little Mazda sports car on the way to yet another drama club car wash fundraiser. The lessons just kept coming. But most importantly, those lessons she taught me on life and living, growing up, and being strong and fierce in the face of terrible teenage anxiety and unchecked pre-coming out angst. Usually that education lived in that stairwell of some university at a competition, or those grimy steps going up into the light booth at the top of the lecture hall of the theater. She would hold my hands in hers. I guess I was her little bird. And she kept me there. And I didn't know how I would have been able to do it myself. I wouldn't have been able to keep myself there. I couldn't have gotten through those years without her as my champion. She was the embodiment of a safe space, which we didn't even know what was in 1985. So Mary and I lost track with each other after I went away to college and university. And when I finally landed in DC, I came to visit my family in Pensacola. On a run to Target, I bumped into Mary, and the reunion was about as good as they get. We talked about Tom and the animals. I house sat and pet sat for them countless of times while I was in high school. We talked about the drama department and Shakespeare. We talked about my life singing with the National Opera Company, and how about her training and her pushing me in the 12th grade to join chorus and learn to sing. I would not have found myself on that stage or any of the others I've been lucky enough to sing on. And we cried right there in Target. We cried because we both knew that there was a huge chance that I wasn't going to make it. But I took what she gave me, sometimes forced on me, and I made it one more day and one more day for the next 35 years. And I've been making it, and she's still there. She's still pushing me along. Elke and I share the dream, Mary, it seems. I want to leave you now the way I came in. It's a quote, and it's one that we all know really, really well. I think it's our common thread, having shared our lives with this incredible spirit who taught us to be free and wild and fiercely intelligent, and at least knowing how to act humble. So happy birthday, Mary. The next line, slightly out of character from Hamlet. Be not too tame, neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word, and the word to the action. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, this is Shire Burkett. People knew me in high school as Sarah Burkett, and I graduated in the class of 91. Mary DeCosta was my teacher from 89 until 1991. And to say I was lucky to have her is an understatement. I think any of her students speaking tonight would agree. I think everybody here would agree. She was a teacher unlike any I'd ever had before, and would prove to be a teacher unlike any I would encounter later. DeCosta was my biggest supporter, and she was my biggest fan. And I can't help but think I was one of her favorites. I know for sure she was one of mine. I hope everybody felt that way because, you know, you were. DeCosta was definitely unconventional. Some folks might have described her as downright bohemian, but not in the way people throw that word around these days. Although I'm sure given half a chance, she would have rocked a fedora with several multicolored plumes. And I'm pretty sure she listened to a shit ton of Stevie Nicks, although who knows? She was unconventional in the way, well, it was the most refreshing of ways. She made you feel. She made you want to feel. She made you pick apart your feelings, and she loved you for all of them. Someone asked me on the group thread, did she ever make you cry? The answer is yes, absolutely. My senior year, I even quit theater for about a week after she lobbed the stiletto heel at my head. You know, if she loved you, she loved you. She made you cry. She made you laugh. She threw shoes at you. Very important. She made you feel, and all of the stuff in between. DeCosta was a safe space for me. She was a safe space for so many of us, you know, the wacky, the weird, the unconventional, the rebellious, the ones with teenage angst, the ones struggling at home. And I was one of the ones struggling at home. The nomadic life of a military brat is a strange one, and Pensacola was a really odd place to end up at 13. I started high school having left behind a close-knit circle of middle school friends and the Philippine Islands, and I didn't fit in right away. My very first class presentation was on reincarnation versus transmigration. Need I say more? You know, what can I say? Miss DeCosta took my oddness in her stride. She made me appreciate it and made me laugh at it. She taught me to appreciate myself at a time when doing that is so very hard. The arrival of my foster sister in the 10th grade only complicated matters. And it was Miss DeCosta and DeCosta's rooms that gave me the necessary outlet to deal. It was the theater. And it was a much more rewarding pursuit, you know, than anything I could have turned to. Miss DeCosta was an animal lover. Everybody's talked about that before. She rescued greyhounds. Her mom drove a Chevy Impala. They were both pretty awesome, actually. And, you know, Thomas was a lovely man. But she once told me that I was much better with people than with animals. And to this day, that is 100% true. I'm cool with that. I remember smuggling plum wine to Tallahassee one year. It was confiscated almost immediately by Mrs. DeCosta. And she told me years later, she had shared it with the other chaperones, and it was truly awful. Anyway, DeCosta pushed me. She gave me the stage, a place to put my crazy teenage emotions, and her pushing paid off. From winning Best Actress in the state of Florida to working on the film Lolita, you know, her pushing helped shape me into the person that I am today. So how do you send someone like Mary DeCosta off? How do you send off her lovely husband, Tom? Shakespeare makes too much sense, and so do the experts, you know, from plays and poetry books that I've been reading. I can't really do it. So I'm just going to go with the Irish blessing, not because DeCosta was Irish, but because, well, I will carry the memory of her with me for as long as I walk this earth. And should that lovely little thing called the afterlife actually exist, I plan to bring her a much better bottle of wine than the plum wine she confiscated. So may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands. Rest in peace, Mrs. DeCosta. And of course, you, Tom. The heavens gained two good ones. This is Sarah Burkett, class of 91.
Hi, everybody. I'm John James Durkin III. And in the fall of 1991, new in town, I started 11th grade at Woodham. I started late. My dad's orders came on the Navy's time schedule. And on top of being new, I missed the first 2 weeks of school because I had mono. And when I finally started classes, Becky McPheron was my English teacher. Hi, Becky, how's tricks? Our first assignment in your class was to write about our Carencia, our home, not a house, but the place to which we felt the strongest connection, wherever that might physically be. I don't know what words I wrote, but I remember feeling like I didn't have a Carencia. When I got to the door of the drama classroom, I was nervous. I peered through its glass window first. I could see the first 2 or 3 rows of seats were filled with students in rapt attention, all eyes on Mary, perched at the edge of the stage. I give you an image in her own words. I bubble and shimmer on my surface like molten silver, my masks all silks and glitter, slithering against my skin. Promises and artifice, my hair glows an unnatural silver, gold, nails long, cold, exotic. She must have heard me at the door. She whipped her head around, reached up her hand, dripping in gold and silver, jewels and gemstones. A brass snake curled around her wrist, and she beckoned me forth with those infamous talons. I was a deer in headlights. Late and unprepared, I turned beet red when she asked me for a monologue. She just ended up having me tell her stage left from stage right, which I could do, and she let me in. Thank the gods. Mary was a genius and an iconoclast. No teacher before or since has ever had as great an impact on my life. I know that I'm never going to meet another person in this world who's even a little bit like her. I am not being dramatic. She opened my mind to worlds I'd never dreamed of. There was no topic off limits. There was nothing too taboo to discuss. No dream was out of reach. Everything mattered. She had this way of wrangling impossible commitment after commitment from me, and then she dared me to disappoint her, to disappoint myself, to disappoint Mary by failing to show up and give everything I had. That was a specter far worse than any stage fright. When I entered her class, I had no clue what I was capable of. She did. She knew, and she believed in me when I didn't. Wrestling with indecision, insecurities, she cast me as Hamlet. To decide, she had this quote, "Not to decide is to decide." Mary had transformed that rundown lecture hall, and all of us lost kids and misfits inside it through magic, alchemy, into a theater of infinite possibilities. And more than that, into my Carencia. It was damaged, it was basic, but it was enough, and so were we. She was an artist, and we were her raw materials. Once when I was sitting up with her in that back of the theater in her nest, watching the students on the stage. I think we were working on the blocking for Hold Me. She pointed out the visual composition that she was going for, the lights, the amber lights cast against the green and blue painted set pieces, the varying levels, the balance of the actors on the stage, some of them high up on the ladder stage left, other ones low down at the edge of stage right. She exclaimed, "I'm painting with people." We were putty in her hands, and she molded us. She stretched us and pounded us, pelted us with stilettos. She set us on fire, willing or not, for better or for worse. Her magic was as powerful as it was contagious. Many of us are parents now, teachers, and both. And I hope and I know that whatever we're doing, whomever we're encountering in our lives, we're spreading that fire, that passion, joie de vivre. 10 years ago, when I was going through the adoption process for my son, Dominic, and I needed recommendation letters from friends. And one of them wrote, "John makes you believe that you can do anything." When I read that, the single greatest compliment I've ever received in my life, all I could think about was Mary. I caught that from her. And around the time she died last summer, but before I knew it, I was rummaging around for something cool to read Dominic at bedtime, and I found this copy of the Upanishads that she'd given me in 1995 after I'd graduated. It was a rough time in my life. I had encountered some dark and turbulent waters. She inscribed the inside of the cover with a message: "To balance, my love, and to small joys unfettered. When you're tired of the senses and need to come home, a book for resting, Mary." I did read it to him. He says he's a Hindu now. She loved collecting quotes. As a lot of you've mentioned, she created her own cut and paste collages out of her favorites with the Xerox machine, her typewriter, scissors, glue, the same way that she made all of our programs and posters. There are so many great ones, including "More is not always better." So I'm going to cut myself off here, and I'm going to leave you with a little gem from Dorothy Parker that always reminds me of her. "If I should labor through daylight and dark, consecrate, valorous, serious, true, then on the world I may blazon my mark. And what if I don't? And what if I do?"
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Tarrant. I'm from the graduating class of 2001, and my most well-known role is that of Lady Macbeth in the annual Shakespeare. In the 8th grade, my parents wanted me to apply to the IB program at PHS. I did, and then a few months later, I checked the mail and opened my acceptance letter. I promptly threw it in the garbage. I knew that all I wanted for the next year was to go to Woodham and be a part of the theater department. My mother found that letter in the trash and she was terribly upset with me, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Freshman year, nervous and excited, I walked into the drama room and I saw the rows of seats, the stage, and an eccentric looking blonde with rings on every finger and nails like daggers. I was home. Over the next 4 years, I tried to be involved with every production, go on as many competition trips as I could possibly get, and get all my prerequisites done so that by my senior year, I could have at least 4 drama classes. I loved every single moment of it. I have so many memories in my time there that it's impossible to convey the impact of them in 5 minutes. I remember walking up to her desk and ask her a question and being met with, yes, light of my life, joy of my existence. I remember vividly the sounds of her heels clicking down the stairs towards the stage. I also remember the fear when she finally stopped wearing those heels and you could no longer hear her coming. But now as an adult, most of all, I remember her lessons. The ones that as a teenager, I didn't even realize she was teaching us. More than once, I heard some student ask her who she thought was going to make it as an actor out of all of her students. And her reply was always the same. None of you are going to make it. But she didn't say this to be mean. She didn't say it because she didn't believe in us. She said it because she wanted to keep us grounded and prepare us for the world, the big, awful, scary world outside of high school. She knew the odds were against us, and she told us the truth about it. She said that we would probably never be famous actors, but she also never told us not to try. I spent a few years after high school trying different routes to become a professional actor, and it never panned out. Eventually, I decided to move on, but I never felt like a failure. I knew what I was up against, and I had learned to define success differently because of Mary DeCosta. During the school years, my favorite time was always the Shakespeare production. I was involved all 4 years. We did King Lear, Much Ado About Nothing, As You Like It, and finally Macbeth. I remember as underclassmen or as upperclassmen, we would sit during the read through and wait for the freshmen to ask if we could do the English version, just so that we could hear DeCosta scream, "It's in English." She had an amazing way of making a bunch of teenagers understand and appreciate the lines that they were saying, even if, because after a while we found out that they were dirty and insulting. DeCosta always loved to push the envelope. And I believe that's one of the reasons why she wanted to do the yearly Shakespeare, is because most of the audience wouldn't know what we were getting away with saying. Sorry, I lost my place. In the last years of the drama department, I actually had the pleasure of meeting my future ex-husband, Will Chavers. Him and I have a daughter together. She's 6. And that brings me to my last interaction that I had with Mary DeCosta. I was managing a local restaurant, and one day I saw her and Tom come in for lunch. I walked over to the table and we sat and talked for a while. She asked me how life had been since we had last seen each other. And I said, Will and I just had a baby girl. And she said, "Oh, how lovely." Asked what her name was. And I said, "Her name is Hero." And she said, "Ah, much ado." Yes, she was one of the few people who would not ask me, "That's an interesting name. How'd you come up with that?" She knew how I came up with it, because it was because of her. At 16, I helped paint the set for Much Ado, and I heard the name of one of the protagonists during rehearsal, Hero. I loved it immediately. We did not have her until 15 years after that production, but since 1999, her name has been Hero. Because DeCosta had a love for Shakespeare, and a love for words, and a love for being different. And she made a bunch of kids love that too. Now, anytime someone asks me how I got her name, I get to reminisce about some of the best years of my life and the unapologetic woman at the very center of them.
Mary DeCosta was a force for District 1 theater students. And to continue her legacy, a scholarship fund has been established in her name. The Educational Theater Fund, it's a non-for-profit organization, and it's the home to the International Thespian Society, which gave us here our opportunities for districts and state, and they have graciously offered to host the scholarship fund. This will be a scholarship that is dedicated to Florida theater students specifically located in District 1. Also, the fund will be open to all types of theater students looking to enter university, from onstage and to behind the scenes. If you were ever inspired, taken in, pushed to your limits by this amazing, polarizing woman, please consider donating to her scholarship fund at DeCostaScholarship.com. $5, $10, $100, $1,000, no amount is too small or big. Our powers combined here today will allow us to share her legacy and spirit for another deserving theater high school student in financial need for university. And we are currently accepting donations for the 2022-23 school year. So we just heard a few stories from some of her former students, and we know that there are so many more familiar stories. If you were ever cast in one of her productions or waiting outside the theater room before the show, this may be familiar to you as well. Please, if you know the words, raise your glass and join us one last time. Whether the weather be cold,
whether the weather be hot,
we'll be together,
whatever the weather, whether we like it or not.
whether the weather be cold, whether the weather be hot, we'll be together, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Whether the weather be cold, whether the weather be hot, we'll be together, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Whether the weather be cold, whether the weather be hot, we'll be together, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Whether the weather be cold, whether the weather be hot, we'll be together, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not.
So I just wanted to give a big shout out to the rest of our core team who made this tribute possible. Gail, Zach, April, Alissa, Elizabeth, and Maria. Thanks to everyone. And also to all of our main speakers who worked with us as well to get things in on time. Don't forget to check out the scholarship site at DeCostaScholarship.com. And if you tuned in late for Act 1, never fear, we will be posting the tribute on YouTube. Stay tuned on the Facebook group page for updates. And in lieu of intermission, I invite you to grab a drink. I have been pouring, or I am pouring now, DeCosta's favorite, a glass of Cabernet. And join us for Act 2, where we want to hear your stories. And now I will pass the reins to April to tell us more.
Hi, everyone. I'm April Anderson-Zorn, and we are here at Act 2. To get the stories going, I'm going to kick things off. Do you still have your rock? Some of you know what I'm talking about, and some of you think I'm crazy, and that's okay, because I know I'm crazy. But do you still have your rock? For those of you who remember, for your senior year, some of us got a kind of a graduation gift from Mrs. DeCosta, and she gave her seniors rocks. She would find these rocks in her many trips to mountains or other vacation spots that she and Tom visited throughout the year. The rocks always had a quality about them that reminded her of their eventual owner. And to be honest, I didn't think I deserved a rock. I started theater in the whole theater department in my junior year after lying to my dad about what I was doing in my after-school hours. Mrs. DeCosta knew that I had trouble at home, and like many of us who were trying to escape our at-home realities, we were doing it in that theater room. But she helped me make good trouble. She made good trouble for me. She helped me to secretly participate in theater when my situation would have prevented me from doing otherwise. And so when my parents finally divorced in my senior year, my mom, my sister, and I were absolutely dead broke. We had no money, like mac and cheese once a meal in a day, kind of broke. So what did she do? When state came around, she, without blinking an eye, paid for the entire trip for me to go. To be honest, this is why I just didn't expect it. I felt like I owed her for being so supportive to both myself and my family in a time when we really desperately needed that help. I saw the rocks as a tradition that were held for those seniors and for those students who had been there for their entire 4 years. But I did get the rock, and I got a note that I know I have. I'm an archivist. It's in a box somewhere in my house. It's I have it somewhere, but I don't have it with me right now. The note said that it reminded her of me because of the smooth side and the rough side. The smooth side is the face that I gave to the world, and the rough side is what I hide. She encouraged me to show all sides of that rock because that's what made the rock so beautiful and yet so tough. So obviously I still have this rock, and I plan to give it to my daughter who turns a year old next month, love of my life. It took me many years and lots of therapy to understand what she meant in this very simple yet so significant gift of a rock. And now that I'm an educator, I try to impart the same toughness, gentleness, understanding, and love that she so graciously gave me all of those years ago. So with that, thank you, Mary. And now I'm going to turn it over to Alissa Dobson, who will continue sharing memories.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I've written this and changed it at least 20 times, so bear with me as I wing through what I've decided to keep from the million little things that I've written. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alissa Dobson. I was with DeCosta from 92 to 96. I have her to thank basically for making sure that my priorities aligned with what they should have been instead of the rebellious, hormonally crazy teenager that I was on the track to being. She did have a way, as many of us have said, of finding those of us who, for whatever reason, whatever motivation, felt like we needed to be a little off the cuff and a little more rebellious. For me, I didn't really want to be in school. I was fine. I made grades enough to get through it, but I just didn't want to be there. She did make me swear on the theater room door that I would start showing up to school, and I damn well did. She put me in my first play at Woodham my freshman year. I wasn't really sure that I was fully qualified, as I had seen some of the plays obviously done before, but she embraced me. She welcomed me. I walked up to the door the very first day of rehearsal, and as I opened it, I heard Stephen Trevor echoing out, "Has anybody seen my foreskin? I can't seem to find my foreskin." I had found my home. These were my people. She was the mother of the little family that she ended up willingly or maybe even unwillingly creating. Let's see. I didn't end up on stage. I didn't end up doing Broadway like I thought. DeCosta was very real with me about that, as some of you have said previously, that if this is the only thing that you want to do, then you should do it. Otherwise, if there is even the slightest inclination for you to head in a different direction, please, for the love of God and all things pure in the world, do that instead. So I did not go on stage. I would, however, consider the fact that I have been a paid actress throughout the years, whether it be waiting tables, working in the medical field. And while I'm not paid now, you are an actress as a mother, because if you think saying Elmo phrases and trying to do those little voices is not acting, sorry, it is. She's still with me every day. Finding out that Mary had passed was not expected, as it is obviously not with most people, but with Mary, it's a little different. She was somebody that I kind of always expected to be there. As foolish as that sounds, you always knew that she was a phone call away. We always knew that we could go years without speaking with her. But if we picked up the phone and called her, she might not answer. You may have to leave a message and have her call you back, but you would ultimately be able to reach her. You would have an amazing conversation. And if you were lucky enough, you would actually get to meet up for cocktails where the real conversations were. Mary was many things to many people. She was a teacher, but she was not only a teacher. She was a mentor, but she wasn't only a mentor. She was a friend, but she wasn't even only a friend. She really was family. She spoke to you like a teacher should speak to a student, but she spoke to you like an adult. She didn't talk down to you. She did yell at you. She did throw shoes at you. She would piss you off and make you cry like very few people, at least in my life, have had the ability of doing so. But it came from a place of love. If she saw something in you that you didn't know was there, she was going to drive it out of you, whether it was kicking, screaming, and sometimes even bleeding along the way. I think that what I've found in doing all of this and speaking with all of you is that one of Mary's messages that was very important when we were with her, it's resounded and it's continuing to resound now. It's about connections. She did the play twice. She did it twice for a reason. It was very important to her. How we all treat each other, the way that we all connect really is what makes life what it is. And listening to everybody speak about her and just knowing what she's meant, I would say that that lesson has carried through with each one of us. We're still here today making connections with each other. She is gone. It's an unfortunate loss that nobody will ever fill. There is no finger in water for Mary DeCosta. It's more like a finger in concrete. You cannot fill that gap. But we do have each other. We are a family. I am very thankful that so many of you have been so willing to reach out with your stories and memories. And it's very touching to know that she meant as much to all of you as she did to all of us. She is not gone. We will continue living her memories out on the Facebook page through conversations. And next year, we are determined we're actually going to do an in-person reunion. So anybody that would like to, we will be arranging that. That being said, the clip that you saw of Mary laughing is a very special clip for me. The audio for it is my mother telling her, "Mary, we love you." And she starts laughing awkwardly, as you know DeCosta did when you showed her affection. And she said, my mother said, "We'll never forget you." And Mary stopped laughing just long enough to look at the camera and say, "I will see to that." I think very effectively for each and every one of us, she has absolutely done so. Thank you.
Hi, I'm now crying again. But my name is Kendall Nelson. I was Kendall Croucher from 93 through 97, I think. And I can feel DeCosta over my shoulder right now, calling me a slacker because I didn't write anything, because I was like, no, I can just be off the cuff. And now I'm like, nope, that was dumb. You're right. I should have written something down. But she always seemed to me to be like the gatherer of wild and broken creatures. All of us were lost and searching and wanting a family. And she could see that in us in a way that I don't think most people do. And she gave us a family, and she saw through any sort of like pretense that I ever put up. She could see straight into me, and she would call me out on it. And she would point out flaws that I didn't even know I had. And as soon as she said them, I was like, oh shit, now I have to fix that. No, but it was worth it. You are always a better person if you listen to DeCosta, if you listen to what she was telling you without the hurt, without the ego, without the mask. She would make you a better person. And I will always be grateful for her. She also gave us a hiding place. Like, we were always allowed to go hide in the drama room during pep rallies or other things that none of the weirdos wanted to go to. She let us. She would be like, I don't see you going in there. But she gave us that space. And she gave us that acceptance for all of our dark and murky and twisty parts of our souls. She saw those and loved us more for them. And I'm so grateful that I met her. And Burton Ritchie he wishes he could be here so much, but he wanted me to say how much he loved her, how much she took care of him, and how much he loved house sitting for her, riding her horse, being in drama, chauffeuring and going on trips with us later on in years. He actually pushed me to call DeCosta only a couple of months before she passed. And I got to have one last conversation with her, not knowing it was the last, because of course we said, let's meet up for drinks. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for her, and I'm so grateful for all of y'all. It's so good to see all of your faces. And I feel so lucky to be a part of this family. And I love you all. So thank you.
I'm so sorry. I have no idea how to work Zoom. Welcome to the land of the living, Melissa. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, 92 to 96, also known as Baby Duck, a nickname that I really didn't know would live with me for the rest of my life. And honestly, what can I say about Mary that hasn't already been said? She created life around us, through us, with us, for us. A love like hers transcended teenage years into adulthood. The lessons that we learned in her classroom or at her home or in her car or in the bathroom, just like life lessons that you carry with you forever, and you didn't know that you were going to have this connection. Yes, I am totally wearing a Connections t-shirt right now in honor of Mary. Connections that you did not know would last a lifetime. I'm so grateful for her, and I'm grateful for each one of you. Like I said, what can I say about Mary that wasn't already been said? And I'll leave it at that. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for the team of people that put this together, that we can all share in the love and life that was Mary. Thank you.
Yay, my turn. So Elke, I kill a baby bird once a day, right? I'm a mom. The bird is dead. And then I try to salvage and fix the bird, and the bird is dead. So I was 4 years old looking through a Yellow Pages book. Yes, our children don't know what this is, looking for Agent. And at 9, I got paid by Touchstone Pictures, and I was the Rose and the Little Prince. And this is what I needed to do. By the way, I act every day of my life. And then when we moved to Pensacola from Lake Forest, Illinois, when I was 12, I was looking for the gym. This is not about me. It doesn't matter. They don't have gyms. It's outside. My brother found Mrs. DeCosta first. Matt did. And I knew I needed her in 7th grade. And I showed up in 9th grade and she shot me down. And I just want to tell you that I think her story of the finger in the ocean is wrong. And I get the point, I suppose. And maybe listening to that amazing story from her friend, Marsha, right? Did I get that wrong? Doesn't matter. Because she's so smart and full of energy and so freaking talented. And she was probably hurt so much from never being acknowledged for it. So she was trying to save us from not being acknowledged from our specialness. But I just have to tell you, she was wrong about the finger in the ocean. Okay, everybody here? Because I can't tell you the ones who decided to leave their camera on. I'm sorry, I was looking at you people. Like we all are connected. And her finger in the ocean made a difference. And I don't care how she told it when she said, oh, roll your jeans up when she's wearing a skirt, okay? We all made a difference. So just highlights. I took pre-calculus my junior year at PJC so I could take pre-calculus and drama 4 to be in her freaking class. Who in the hell else I just have to say Pensacola, Florida equals bum fucking Egypt. So how did I learn Stanislavski in 9th grade? I want you to know, everybody here, just lessons for life. I tell my husband every day, I don't wake up. I love my husband. He's fine. I don't tell him my goal is not to piss you off and I hate you. That is not my objective. See, Mrs. DeCosta? So if that's where we're coming, that's not my objective. So I don't just have an objective for life, right? Well, wait, acting. I have an objective for life and from my moments. And that as an actor, what do? We change and we respond. And as I kill that baby bird, which I'll call Jake and Taylor, my children, then I can say, wait, step back. Hey, mommy made a mistake. Mom loves you, right? I'm going to f up again tomorrow. By the way, so are you. And I need to celebrate you. So now I need to talk about Baby Duck. I'm going to keep it to 5 minutes. Mrs. DeCosta taught me how to do makeup. She didn't teach me just to be amazing and to push. By the way, the more she yelled at me, the better I became. Somehow I went to University of South Alabama. I majored, what did I major in? Communications with a minor in business because my dad thought acting was stupid. Don't get me started on being fearless or not, whatever. I'm fearless to a point. And I was in all the acting things and I won Best Actress there one year. I don't know what I did. And I got money for something. It doesn't even matter anymore. Because Mrs. DeCosta taught me to use my hand and probably put lead on all of our faces. And Baby Duck was one of the only ones who let me do her eyeliner. My daughter who dances now, and everybody's like, oh my God, she's got so much soul. I'm like, that's me, but I don't dance. My kiddo's eye makeup is on point. That's Mary DeCosta. It's on point. Now I'm using MAC and it's not the same and I wet it with a brush and I need a thistle brush. I need a certain brush because Mary DeCosta said, you get that brush. By the way, the brush I still have is probably diseased and has COVID. Okay, it's almost over. Okay, makeup, Stanislavski, relationships, there was something. Fearless, okay. Just a lesson for all of us. My problem was I forgot how to be fearless, which is okay, because we all do, because we have obligations. I would even argue that's why Mrs. DeCosta was teaching in Pensacola, Florida. Okay, let's be honest, she's a human. But thank God, which goes back to the ocean. So just, maybe I'll be here next year. I survived breast cancer. I'm now out of COVID. And to end on a quote, David Mamet, fuck you. That was one of Mrs. DeCosta's favorites. And no one can get away with throwing shoes anymore. She'd be fired. And I'm thankful she wasn't. Okay, I'm done. It's fine. It's over. Unmute me. I'll unmute me.
I've been thinking all day of what the hell I would say about this woman. Someone who has had such a huge impact on not just my life, but my entire family. So Mary was the first person to ever fire me. She fired me my freshman year and because I missed too many play rehearsals for football, a game I hate and hated then, and she knew it. And but my father loved football and loved the idea of his son following in his footsteps and played football and hated the idea of his son being on the stage and saying this stupid Shakespearean. And my first semester, and I didn't say I wouldn't cry. Actually, I've been saying all day long I would be bawling. But my first semester, she was like, look, you're gonna have to make a choice. You're gonna do this football or you could be in the play. And I chose football because I was afraid of raising the ire of my father. And so I was kind of a pariah in theater and drama my freshman year, that first semester. And so the second semester, when it came time to audition, there were 2 days of auditions and I didn't go to the first one. And the second day beforehand in school, she caught me in the behind and said, Mr. King, didn't see you at auditions yesterday. And I was like, I didn't think you would want me to audition again. And she's like, well, do you have any sports? Are you playing sports this semester? It's like, no. She's like, well, I know what your father thinks. And she was the first person who ever told me that at some point in time I was going to have to realize it was my life and not my parents. And so I auditioned, and I got a terrible part that I was so happy with. And then Mary DeCosta met my father, Harvey Leon King Jr., who was 350, jacked, motorcycle bike rider, just like big biker dude, beard, not quite as big as mine, but big beard. What is the saying? When a unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Well, after the day that my dad met Mary DeCosta, I realized that my father was not an immovable object. And in fact, my father commented several times on the fire that came out of such a small package. And my father, my Southern raised toxic machismo father, grew to love theater and grew to love the Woodham Drama Department and became a regular chaperone and read plays in his spare time. And I lost him in 2017. And I hadn't spoken to DeCosta in 5 years, and I didn't speak to her then because I was beside myself. And at his wake, there was just a beautiful bouquet. Love Mary DeCosta. And I gave the eulogy at my dad's funeral. And crying about as much as I am right now. And in the back, just standing by the exit, there she was. And she just smiled, that smirk out of the side of her face smile, and left. I didn't say a word to her. But I always knew that she was there. So let's see. I will not run over, although I could talk all day. And I am, for once in my life, struggling to find words. There's a concept that's really important to me these days, which is that in all of us, that we all have the seeds of the divine in all of us, but at the same time, we are these mortal schmucks stuck in this third dimension, dealing with all this third dimensional bull. And Mary DeCosta had the perfect way of letting you know that you were extremely talented. And at the same time that you were in a way that you appreciated both so equally. And that temperance, I think, has probably served me better than anything I've ever learned through any book learning ever. I had two loves in high school, as I was a huge computer nerd and a huge drama nerd. And I was in chorus too, but that was chorus. When I was leaving college after having dropped out once before, when I was going to drop out a second time to join a startup, I was really struggling with it because my mother was an academic her whole life, and she taught for Miami County School Board, retired. And I was just so worried about what my mom was going to say that I didn't go back to school. And She was like, didn't we do this before with your dad? Didn't we have this conversation about whose life it was? And last time I talked to her, it must have been 2012. Yeah. I was trying to tell her about this technology that I was obsessed with called Bitcoin. And she couldn't give a about what I was talking about. And she just kept trying to change the subject. And I just kept trying to send her a Bitcoin because I thought if she would get it, she would understand it. But she wouldn't take it from me. But if the DeCosta Scholarship Fund will not be as obstinate as Mary DeCosta, it would be my honor to give that Bitcoin that she would not take in 2012 from me to DeCosta's Thespian Scholarship Fund. And I haven't looked today, but $59,000. And if people can use that fund and just get a fraction of the value that I got, I think it's a good deal. Thanks everybody for being here. I love all of you, even if we haven't talked in 20 years.
I met Mary DeCosta late in my sophomore year of high school. It was right after Hurricane Ivan in 2004. I had just left Miss Brooks' class. And I think that was the first time, my first day of class, I'll never forget. She scared me so bad. She yelled at me to the point I wanted to cry. And she threw a shoe at me. All in the same day, my first day of class. I was standing on the stage and I was just this broken little foster kid. Was my 4th high school in 2 years. My mindset was I'm going to be here a week, maybe 2. My foster or the group home's going to ship me out. I'm not wanted. You know, why am I even here? And she asked me to introduce myself. So acting like I was an amateur, I don't know, I was just being shy and scared. I stood in the back and I had my head down, like I was talking to the floor. And I started introducing myself. And next thing I know, I have this shoe fly right past my head. And she starts yelling, I know Miss Brooks taught you how to speak on stage. You better do it right or you're leaving my room immediately and you're not coming back. So I get my act together and I introduce myself. And after about a week or so, she was breaking down all these walls I had built up. And it had become my safe place. I would get to school early just so I can be in the drama room. I would leave school late just so that I can be in the drama room. So I didn't have to go back to the group home or the foster home. It was my safe place. And right before she retired, my junior year, I had just gotten kicked out of my foster home. I had aged out, so I was out on my own. And I remember telling her the story of my first day and how I wanted to cry. I just wanted to break down and cry because I don't know what it was, but something in me did not want to make her upset and did not want to disappoint her. And it was just something innate in me that very first day. I was like, I can't disappoint this woman. And the fact that I did, I told her I wanted to cry. And her response was, well, you should have. It was very blunt. You should have cried. And it's something that stuck with me because almost at least once a week, she would tell me, you're not alone. No matter how bad I felt, it was, you're not alone. You're safe. This is your place. This is your home. And I actually, not only did I get to have DeCosta as a teacher, but that following year, my senior year, I got to have Elke as my teacher. And it was almost like having her back. It was a lot of the same lessons. It was hardcore, and Elke didn't play just like DeCosta didn't play. And the lessons that I've learned there, I've since been able to pass on to my daughter, who took up theater and is graduating high school this year. And she's in love with theater. And I've been able to give that support to her. And a lot of the lessons I've learned has built up a work ethic in myself, that I'm always early to work. I always give it 100%, no matter how bad I'm feeling. And I'm always going above and beyond. And it's helped make me who I am today. And it's helped me beat the odds. I went from just this broken foster kid, and whenever I aged out, I was homeless for a short time. And now I'm in California. My dream, I made it to California. I got to go to Hollywood last month for the first time. And I'm doing everything that I told her I would. And because of her, I met somebody today who's going to help me do a playwright on my time in foster care and how DeCosta impacted me. And she's going to hook me up with someone in La Jolla to direct it, and possibly somebody in New York. So even today, with her not here physically, she's still here and she's still changing my life.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. I was set up for school. My students could hear me, but you couldn't. What I was saying is I'm shocked that no one has mentioned what Mary always said she wanted her funeral to be like. And I think we've come close to capturing that. She always said that rather than a funeral, she wanted an Irish wake. She wanted her body to be, I see Beth smiling. Are you nodding too? Do you remember this? She wanted her body to be in a glass coffin in the middle of the room, and she wanted to have a glass of wine in her hands. So I have my glass of wine in honor of Mary. Mary became the theater director at Woodham when Wendy Prendergast left for the first year of Brown Barge. And I was lucky enough to be Wendy's student in 8th grade that first year at Brown Barge. And that's when I knew that someday I wanted to be a teacher. And then I got to meet Mary and knew what kind of teacher I wanted to be. I followed Mary's footsteps to FSU, where I also majored in English, but unlike the one semester she spent on the Spanish web in the circus, I spent my entire school career in the circus. I juggled, I flew, I walked the slack wire, but most importantly, and probably from the things that Mary taught me, I became the ringmaster of the Florida State Circus. And my very last show, the 50th anniversary of the FSU Circus show, the microphone died on the very last line I was ever going to say as the ringmaster of the circus. And thanks to Mary, I was able to project and wish that everyone in the audience, that all their days would be circus days, to a crowd of about 3,500 people. So that was neat. And she was always so proud and pleased to have another member of the Woodham drama family who had gone on to be in the FSU Circus. So I didn't stay on stage as an actor after I left school, but in addition to the circus, I've been a working comedian for 10 years. I've done play-by-play on the radio and TV for more sports than you can imagine. I've been able to MC concerts and announce water ski shows all over the world, including in Japan and also in Egypt. Beth, I can promise you that Pensacola and BFE are not the same. We were 12 weirdos with 4 bodyguards with machine guns in Egypt. We felt very safe there. It took 20 years for me to become a teacher, and I now teach gifted and advanced middle school English, which I know Mary would appreciate, that's what I ended up doing. And I have made a few connections with students that I think are as strong as the connection that Mary made with all of us and hundreds more. And so, one of my goals is to become someone who has that special connection with all of her students like Mary had with us. But on a daily basis, I tell my students that they're illustrious, that they're lovely and talented. When they have a question, I always have an answer. And if they match, we're in business. And I'll close with my very first line in a Woodham play. I think my last line in a Woodham play was right after John Durkin killed Laertes. But it wasn't his fault and it wasn't mine, as I recall. But my very first line was after Little Pig number 2 had been killed in Animal Farm my freshman year. And I got sent, Beth, you smiled because Matt was little pig number one. So I went, I was backstage, and Hen needed to have a line, and fortunately my voice hadn't changed yet. So I was a perfect person to play Hen from off stage. And so my line was, due to the leadership of Comrade Napoleon, I have laid 5 eggs in 6 days. And to close out, I'd just like to say that due to the leadership of Comrade DeCosta, I've had experiences in life that I couldn't have even imagined when I was 14. So thank you, Mary. Here's to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm here because honestly, I just wanted to pay my respects. I wasn't in drama. I was in Miss DeCosta's English honors class for my freshman and sophomore year. I think it was 04 and 05. But before I was able to actually meet her, my mom came home. She went to the orientation. I wasn't able to make my high school orientation, what have you. But my mom came home. She said, I really think you're going to like your English teacher. You know, she's a really nice lady. It's in the drama room. It's in the theater. It's really nice. She's really you're going to love her class. And the first day we got to class, I think she yelled at us for the majority of it. And that was just, looking back, I'm a teacher now. I know that she was shaping, molding us, just getting us ready to where she could, kind of manage us, making us malleable, that where she can mold us and shape us in the way that she did. And I was lucky to have her for the 2 years because I wasn't gifted English, actually. And I remember she was very vocal that she didn't really want to do it, but she did. And just throughout that year, with the things that she taught us, the word du jour, just different words, she'd open my mind to so many things. She was such an eclectic person. Just, just her nails, the way when she ever got upset, she would bang on her desk, and like it was just like you guys say, stage left or what have you. And I just remember sitting in those chairs in the auditorium and just looking up at her, and it was just like almost like she was literally on a pedestal. And to this day, I put her on that pedestal, and I actually found out about the Zoom and the call. I was coming from Atlanta. Like I said, I'm a teacher now, and I was just thinking back on, my experiences and those who shaped me to become a teacher. And Miss DeCosta was really one of the first ones. She always spoke so much life into me, and she told me I had so much potential. And I remember one time we had the pleasure of getting on stage and acting out for the language arts class, and she told me it. After my group did our little, our little group or presentation or performance or play, whatever we did, it was just a little skit. And she told me, she said, Darren, you have so much potential. She's like, if you really got out of your own way, you would be great. And I took that and I held it for all my life. It's like, it's just like she saw something in me. Everyone's saying the same thing. And like later on, I never pursued acting or anything. However, over the years, I was a class clown. I became a comedian. And just someone I wanted to kind of honor at the same time, because like I said, I found out about the Zoom. I was on Facebook. I thought about her, and I saw that she passed away. And up until then, I couldn't find any contact. I just didn't know. I just wanted to let her know that I was a teacher, and because of her and how much of an impact that she made on me, and how much, I just cherish the things that she's spoken to me. And the other one, for sure, the very most certain person, like I tell to this day in interviews and everything, the reason I'm a teacher is on this call. His name is Bill Vincent. And while you're here, I want to give you your flowers while I can. I was looking for Mr. Costa, and that's when I found out she passed. I found your page on Facebook. While you're here in this call, I just want to say I will never forget. It was the last week of our senior year. We were in class, and you asked everyone what they wanted to be. And I remember saying I wanted to be an engineer because I was good in math. I wanted to make money. I was good in science. I loved it. And you said no one wanted to be a teacher, huh? And I said, yeah, well, after I retire, I would love to be a teacher. And you said, Darren, you know what? A lot of people can be taught how to be a teacher, but not everyone has that personality. You have the personality to be a teacher. And to this day, like I said, I say it in interviews, and just while I have the opportunity to just acknowledge your role in my life and my career and who I have become, as well as Mr. Costa, is just an honor. I mean, just to be able to speak to you all about her and just to see that she wasn't just a positive or a grateful, impactful person to just me, but everyone and so many people, that doesn't surprise me. But she's a wonderful lady. I cried in the airport when I saw that she died. It breaks my heart, but I'm glad that she's living on through the scholarship and everyone's efforts to make sure that her legacy lives on, and that's truly amazing. I appreciate everything that you all are doing and everything that she has done.
Okay, can you guys hear me for one? Okay, good. Baby Duck, I'm with you, not a Zoom person. I was in drama all 4 years. I was not in any big roles. I was definitely the quiet one. I wasn't shy, just quiet, but that's also what makes public speaking still to this day terrifying. So I'm gonna see how I do on this. Kindle, also, don't feel bad. I jotted down like some quick one-liners because I was like, oh, I didn't write anything down either. I'm just gonna freestyle. So on that note, we'll see how I go. So I was lucky to grow up with pretty good parents, but they definitely raised me more on the conservative side. It was one of those where you weren't weird in public. That's kind of the thing, that like you can be weird at home, but you keep that stuff to a minimum, and it matters what people think about you. And I remember when I was a little kid and I first went to school, I was more observant and kind of stood back and watched people. And I remember going, oh, okay, that's what people think. I don't think like that. Okay, well, I'll just keep quiet and nod my head. And DeCosta was the first person that I ran into who 100% embraced her eccentric nature, and she encouraged it in everybody else. You didn't have to be her, but be whoever you are. And I loved that about her. I loved that whatever my thoughts weren't weird. They're just your thoughts. And she definitely made me more cultured than I would have been, especially in the 9th grade. I remember, I believe it was districts at one point, that I was invited to prom, and I actually chose to go to prom over districts, and I felt horrible about it. I felt really guilty because what drama kid goes to prom? And I remember her telling me, like, that's totally fine. Go to prom. She did remind me, as she does like all the quotes, she said, remember, everything that glitters isn't gold. So, be conscientious of who you're going to prom with. And it's just because you're going to prom doesn't mean you're getting married. But I appreciated her understanding that. And it wasn't a judgment that she made. And as far as safe places, I also will say, I'm not sure it was a mistake, but it was definitely a learning lesson. I joined SGA my senior year, where you had to take the class. I did not enjoy the class. It was bickering over little things that weren't important and politics that were ridiculous in high school. And so we ended up making an F in that, because what I would do instead would be like raise my hand and ask to go to the bathroom. And then I'd just go to the drama room and I would sit in the drama room. Obviously the teachers eventually realized that. And, again, I failed SGA, but it was a place that you could go in anytime you wanted, and it was okay. Whatever's going on, didn't matter. I too, well, I guess whenever I got up to go to the bathroom, I knocked over my rock. My rock is somewhere here near me. It goes into every place that I live. My letter in April, I also didn't think I deserved one. I was never a lead. I was relatively quiet. I loved every minute of it, but I didn't think I deserved a rock. And for someone I admired so much, I didn't know that she saw me. I mean, like I said, I was a quiet one in a group of a lot of loud people. But when I got my rock, I'm paraphrasing because I believe this about 2 years ago, I don't think I have my letter anymore because I think it had been torn and water had got on it, and it's been around for a while. But she called me an old soul, and she said I was somebody that didn't need any advice from her. And so instead of advice, she gave me her love. And I thought, for a woman that had advice about everything, what a compliment. And I never forgot that. And then shortly, to sort of wrap this up, I have no ending in mind, but I believe it was a year after high school. I can't tell you how the situation came to be. There are a lot of things that I'm realizing I don't remember. But I ended up, first place I ever moved out was I lived behind DeCosta in her little mother-in-law's quarter that she had, that eventually I believe Tom's parents moved into. And so of course I house sat whenever they would go away, and loved being involved with all the animals, even though there was an incident where a bird got out and flew around the kitchen, and that was terrifying for me because I was like, how am I going to tell her that one of her birds is like, if I can't get it back in the cage, I don't know what I'm going to do. But my last fun tidbit was she also, I had definitely drank before I was 21, but not wine. And she had gone on a trip and I had house sat for her, and she brought me back my first bottle of wine, which was a Beaujolais, and I remember feeling very fancy. And she's someone that I will never forget. She shaped my life in ways that I'm thankful to all of you who are teachers and parents. Huge impact on people's lives. I think about her all the time. Strangely, I also had a dream about her. But yeah, so thank you guys for putting this on. Thank you for all being a bit of a misfits yourself, and we can all be misfits together. And again, Mary DeCosta will definitely be missed, but I'm glad that we can all keep her alive. And that's it. Bye, you guys.
Okay, I don't know if anybody can see me, but I'm Shannon, formerly Hoffman. So I had her and her husband. I had her husband as a substitute, and I had her, and I will not lie, the very first day of class, I was scared to death. Like, she yelled, I think she just wanted to scare us. Like, and she knew I was the shy one and the really quiet one. So of course she picked on me a lot. Like, she made it her mission. She told me that by the time I left her class that I was going to be over my fear of talking in front of people and just anything that I was afraid of. And like, I remember her making us die on stage, and when she did it, it was like, it was over and over and over again. And like, I can remember her throwing her script and her papers up in the air and walking away, and when people couldn't get stage left and stage right down, and just, I don't think I ever witnessed her throwing a shoe, but I definitely heard her scream a lot. And I remember, like, there was a time where my friend, she snuck a mouse out of the science class in her mouth and brought it to the drama room. And Miss DeCosta was like, "What do you have in your mouth?" when she walked in, and she like spit it out into her hand. And Miss DeCosta's look on her face was just, she goes, "Ew." She goes, "You know that thing will shit in your mouth, right?" And like, we just laughed, and she's like, "Where did you even get that?" And she was like, "I stole it from class." And she's like, "I don't even want to know." She's like, I don't want to know. So she just like ignored it the whole class. She goes, "Just don't let it loose in my classroom." She's like, "Whatever." And then I remember her telling us about a time when her husband got struck by lightning when he flushed the toilet. And she said that it went up through his arm. And just like her different stories, like when she actually wanted to talk to you, or she was like, she was always cheery. I remember her nails, like her really long nails and them always being painted, and all the jewelry she used to wear and the bracelets, and she always usually had a long skirt or dress on, and just she was just so vibrant. Like she always usually had a smile or would, offer a kind word, or but there were just days though where like you just knew that when you walked in, just, leave her alone, do what you got to do, and you better do it right, because if not, she was going to yell. And I don't know, like I've been out of school for 21 years, and like I was just going through my mom's shed the other day, and I found pictures of Miss DeCosta and pamphlets from all the different plays and different things, and like it really made me miss school. Like, I mean, there's a lot I don't miss, but I missed her, and I always wondered, what happened to her. And then when I saw that she had passed away, it just like I cried like a lot of people did, because she made me look forward to going to school, because there was a lot of things that I didn't like about school. And her class though, and her was just one of them, and science was the other. But her class was always my, I don't know, my getaway. And I'm sure it was for a lot of people, because if it wouldn't have been for her, I probably wouldn't. Like I do a lot of writing, and I've had stuff published in, newspapers, and I do photography now. And I go and I sing. I've sang on a stage in front of, a crowd of people, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if it wouldn't have been for her, because like literally, and in public speaking though, I still didn't do very well. I guess it's because when you do like drama and theater, you can kind of, you can portray somebody else. You don't have to be yourself. And I guess it was easier for me to do stuff like that than it is like public speaking and things like that. But I'll never forget when she told me, she was like, by the time I leave her class, that I wasn't going to be shy anymore. Well, like she's kind of half right, because I wasn't as shy, but I still have my moments. But she definitely was a teacher that I didn't forget. And I saw her one time after I graduated, and I want to say it was like at a store or something, and she remembered me, and we talked for a little while. And I mean, it was just nice catching up with her, and just hearing of her passing, and hearing that basically it was just her, and she's gone. And it's like seeing all the pictures from her personal collection and everything has just been really nice. And then everybody that put this together, because I mean, of course, with the pandemic, we can't really do something in person, and hopefully when everything starts to maybe clear up, there can be something done in person for her. But I'm just glad that this was done for her, and listening to the stories, and it was nice, and it's fitting for her. She, I think, would have really appreciated it and liked it, but she probably would have yelled at us too. She would have found something that we didn't do right. But that's all I have. It was just nice, and I'm glad that everybody came together to do it.
Hi, my name is Jessica Cook Johnson. I'm Julie. This is my daughter, Julia. Hi. She is, she's very excited. She's been listening to the whole thing, and she knows how much Miss DeCosta meant to me. And I just wanted to come on and give my experience. My ninth grade year, I made horrible grades, but the one person that kept me going was her, and she gave me a reason to come to school, to keep trying, and to be entertained, and to be involved. I just was not involved in school at that point. I had horrible grades, horrible, 9th and 10th grade. And 9th and 10th grade, drama really pulled me through and gave me a reason to, keep going. I hate to say all this is kind of embarrassing, but she was like a mom to me. She even wrote that in my yearbook. I can't find it anywhere, but she even said that I was like a daughter to her. And I know that she didn't have kids. So of course we were. And of course she cared. And I have 3 beautiful daughters. And so I can only imagine not having daughters or children and not experiencing that. And so we were there. We were them for her. And she molded us. Like if I tried to do that to her, all the things that she did to me, like that would not work at all. Yeah, unconditional love for this one, but she will always know it does come through the sternness, the teaching methods. I do find myself very frequently, even before she passed, sounding like her. And so I just wanted to share. I was in theater all 4 years. I was in a lot of plays that she saw something in me. And she encouraged me to be courageous and to give myself credit, and just so much I owe her too. I work at AV Federal. I have a great job. I love my job. It's very personable, and I owe that all to her. She got me out of my box. She had a lot of sayings, yes, but I guess the one that she always said, the ocean. Gosh, I can't even think of it right now. So tired. She said, if you dip your finger in the water and it fills up, that's how quickly you can be replaced. I heard somebody mention that, and she meant that, I think, in a job situation. If you don't put yourself forward, you can be replaced pretty quickly. And she was right. There's jobs I've been fired, many. So not many, but one or two. So I learned from that, and I remembered that each and every time. And I have a great job. I have a great family. I have a great husband.
The cutest daughter in the world.
Yes, that one. Times 3. Oh gosh, help me. But I did want to say that on my senior year, she gave me an award, and I haven't seen it mentioned, and it's the Tom Perry Award. So this is the award that I got in 2000, and it's called the Tom Perry Award. I didn't see anyone on here with the name Tom Perry, so if anybody knows what that award is for, I would love to know more about it. She did tell me it was for somebody that, beat the odds of, not graduating, I would presume. I really did turn my life around because of her. She motivated me. So, this is another thing. This is her dress. She gave me. She got it in England when she went to England. And it is the prettiest dress that I have ever worn. And this photo shoot, I shouldn't show this because it's copyrighted, but what else? She gave it to me, and it meant so much to me. And it was the first time anyone ever wanted to take my picture. This guy, back in the, whenever he wanted to take my picture. And I think he really thought I was going to show up in a bikini, and I showed up in this because this is what I wanted. This is me because of her. And so I love you, Mary. I will never forget you. I will always remember you. My daughters will too, and we will all carry on your legacy. And I'm so sorry I never visited. I wish I would have. Thank you.
Jessica, Jessica, I'm about to solve your history mystery. So hang on a second, because we've got the son of that award name here, and he wants to tell you something. Hold on a second.
All right. So I had no idea there was a Tom Perry Award, but I know Tom Perry because that's my dad. He was the proud 1991 winner of the Drama Mama Award as our top parent. And there was talk of changing the name of the award because it had always been the Drama Mama, but he was not a mama. And he was super happy and proud to be the Drama Mama. So he told Mary not to change the name of the award no matter what. So I didn't know there was a Tom Perry Award, but I know that Mary loved him and he loved her. She was not at all a morning person, and he was very much a morning person. He'd been a morning drive DJ, so he was like, super chipper at 4 o'clock in the morning. So on every FTC trip and every thespian, state trip and everything else, he would be banging on her door with a cup of coffee, singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning" from Oklahoma or whatever. And so he would be thrilled. Now, see, my dad died, I graduated in 93. He was Drama Mama in 91, I guess. He died in 92. And so that was during my junior year. So we actually dedicated Hamlet to him. I was going to talk about this in my thing, but I only had 5 minutes. We dedicated Hamlet to him. And I remember Mrs. Meeks, because this was at the point where we didn't do musicals because Mrs. Meeks and Mrs. DeCosta did not play nicely together. But I see lots of people nodding their heads right now. And she was horrified that we would dedicate a play about a dead father to a dead father. And I tried to explain to her in my, brilliant 17-year-old way that no, we're not, it's not a play about a dead father. It's about a son learning to live after his father dies. She didn't buy that. But anyway, I didn't even know there was a Tom Perry Award. And I'm so thrilled that there was. And I'm so thrilled that we got to bring my dad into this a little bit, because he and Mary loved each other so much. And I didn't cry at all when it was my turn to speak, but now I'm ready to. So, and I think I'll stop with this, because I posted this in the group not long ago, but I posted part of what Mary put in my senior year yearbook. Let me see if I can find it on my phone here really quickly. Here it is. So T. Kent, the T is for Thomas, and she never credited me the same way twice in any play over my whole 4 years. So I was K. Thomas Perry or T. Kent Perry or, okay. So she said about my dad, watch me cry now. I see more of your father in you each day and miss him more each time. My wish for you is that you continue to find in yourself the qualities which made your father such a wonderful man to know. I believe you're well on the way to doing that. I shall miss you more than you can ever know. Much love, Mary DeCosta. So I have no idea what that award's for. I can only imagine that it's for being super awesome. But thank you for sharing, because I had no idea that award even existed. So thank you, April, for letting me jump back on. And Elke, I want to know about, because you probably knew my dad. I'd love to hear what this award is all about.
Oh gosh. Hi guys, I'm Erin, class of 97. I just wanted to pop on and say a couple of quick things. Mary DeCosta was definitely a very, influential person for me. She taught me how to grow. She brought me out of my shell. She gave me so many amazing opportunities. My family didn't at the time have a lot, and so theater trips I had to pay my way, and she would always let me make payments to her to make sure that I could go on all of those trips, which was, really a blessing. She nicknamed me dyslexic twin number 2. I don't think number 1 is on here, from my first week in drama 1, because I could not get my stage directions down. I don't know that I ever really did. My first play, Merchant of Venice, I had a 1 line. Balthazar was my character. I couldn't tell you that line if I wanted to, but she told me I was terrible. And I think from that moment, I had a drive to do better, to be better. and she pulled that out of me. My first leading role was Crimes of the Heart, and I remember first day on stage, and I had practiced my lines so hard and I was so ready, and I stepped on that stage for rehearsal and everything left my head and I forgot my lines. And she threw one of her 6-inch heels at my head and told me if I ever came back not knowing my lines that I would be fired. I never didn't know my lines again. And then just throughout, you know, my 4 years, drama was my safe place. I think by my senior year, I had 3 classes. And anytime I had a break, that's where I was. I spent lunches there. I spent pep rallies there. I spent so much time there because it's just where I wanted to be. Had the most amazing friends and most amazing experiences. And I have to say, really some of the most amazing role models. A lot of you are on here, Elke, Beth, Alissa. Wow, to follow in your guys' footsteps was incredible. And I can only imagine it was the same for all of you coming up through the ranks. I actually used to house sit for Miss DeCosta. So I have a good story. It was my senior year of high school, and myself and one of the other students, I think it was Stephanie, I don't know if she's on here, we were house sitting for Miss DeCosta. And Josh Waring was giving us a ride to and from school, and his car happened to break down. Well, she happened to leave the keys to her car at her house. And so we drove her little V to school that week that she was gone. To say the least, she wasn't super pleased, but I think deep down she kind of laughed about it. She did leave us the keys after all. I also lived with her for a short time, not in her house, but she had a little mother suite out by the pool, little 1-bedroom house. And before I left for the Air Force after my senior year, after I graduated, so it would have been 98, I lived with her or there for a short time, just to get my feet on the ground and get myself ready to, I had joined the Air Force and I was leaving in a few months, and, you know, she was just really a blessing to so many of us. And I am so grateful to all of you that have worked so hard to put this together and allow us all to share. And I love the Facebook page and seeing all the photos and, you know, just memorabilia, because that was just such an amazing time, I think, for so many of us, and such a safe place. And when I think back, I didn't do any acting after high school. I didn't do any theater, you know, and I don't know, maybe all of this has almost lit a spark where I wish I could. I would love to grace the stage again and just see if I could still do it. But I laugh a little bit because when I was in the Air Force, we would have commander calls where the entire squadron would have to go and sit in a theater and listen to all the declarations and awards and things that are up and coming and going on. And because I had experience in talking in front of people and being able to clearly speak and read and project and use dictation, I was always the one chosen to read those awards and decorations. So I always would chuckle and say, thank you, Mary DeCosta, because you taught me how to set aside the fear and get on a stage and speak. So thank you. Thanks again to everybody. It's been so much fun seeing all of my class of 97 friends. Everybody looks great. And, you know, I hope that we can continue to make this, you know, keep going and keep sharing. So thanks, guys.
All right, yay. Hi, greetings from New York. Mary was my teacher. I think it was her last year of teaching, 2006, or was it 2007? I graduated 2006. I don't know. I think I met my match in Mary DeCosta. When I came to Woodham, I was already in Pensacola Children's Chorus. I was doing chorus. I was doing a bit of everything Pensacola Ballet. I was cocky, and that did not fly with her at all. I think she thoroughly enjoyed humbling me in a way, especially ninth grade. Like, I think because I got no roles in ninth grade. I didn't go to district or state. I sang better than everyone. She gave me nothing. But she really just kind of kept me close. She humbled me in such a way. And then by sophomore year, I was allowed to compete. I was allowed to travel. I was allowed to do all the fun things. But she just always, I don't know, like she just was meaner to me, harsher to me, I guess because she knew I could take it. And I have so much respect for her. Even like in my career now, one of my favorite things she used to always say to me was, fortune favors the prepared. Like, sure, you're cute, but you're not cute enough. Like, you have to be thinking ahead. You have to be thinking more quicker and better than everyone else in the room. If you know it's not enough to know your lines, you need to know everyone else's line on stage too. If you're gonna be in the play, be in it. And I've taken that to throughout all of my whole life. I mean, I've landed myself in New York. I write at MTV. I'm a producer at MTV. And I mean, it's just, I still think the way that she taught me to think. My favorite story, we used to go to State, and then we went to State, then we would stop by Busch Gardens on the way back with Miss Brooks's kids, and I'm petrified of roller coasters. I'm petrified of a lot of things. I hate animals. And she was just like, you just need to stop hating things and just like, you've never experienced these things. Just try, just do it. And so, first of all, because I was like constantly on probation for acting up, breaking rules, I always had to ride in her van next to her. Like, she always kept her eyes on me. And so for the Busch Gardens trip, I had to be with her the entire day. And of course, she made it a thing to ride every roller coaster. I clutched my inhaler so tight. We rode the King de Cod, the old rickety wooden one, which I still get anxiety about. But I'm so glad I did it because I do love roller coasters now. But she's like, you just need to I think you have these preconceived notions. You just need to try. Like, what are you so afraid of? If you die, I die, and that'll be fun. Hey, it'll be a story. So I'm just so grateful for her impact in my life. It really has taken me not only to living the life that I live in the city of my dreams. I mean, I work in LA. I'm just all over the world. I mean, and I always think of her. I always think of like the things that she taught me of just like, you know what, like, don't just like try to cute your way through this. Like, really do the work. Do the work. Like, she even like my prop books would get better grades than I would get like from being on stage, because she's like, Jarvis, you have a knack for focusing in on the details if someone will make you focus in on the details. So I'm just so grateful. First of all, to everyone who put this together. I've literally have been like, that group on Facebook has just brought me so much joy to bring insight to this wonderful woman who has had she's got feet tracks all across my heart, my body, my head. Like, I mean, she's thrown plenty of shoe at me. I'm just grateful. I mean, it's just like, it's just wonderful. And to then like see like all of these people's names that I've heard stories about my senior year. Like, I've heard many of you, I know all about it. I've seen these pictures on the walls. I've seen these old production. I used to look at the production programs, like, and like the way she used to like that she used to type, like, there's so many memories. I'm just so grateful. This has been wonderful. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Mary DeCosta, rest in peace.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm here, but I'm unscripted this time. But I just wanted to say how old you all make me feel. And I'm not going to call out Jason and John, but we were at least close in those years. And of course, I wanted to thank everybody and anyone who had anything to do with this tonight, because it's been incredible. I remember hearing that she died, and I don't remember a couple of days after that. It was the end of what it was for me. And it reminds me of the penultimate conversation I had with her, and she taught me that word, penultimate. I was waiting to go into a rehearsal for a Christmas concert that actually I had written the music for. I had it was mine. And I had just wanted her to know that the student I was became the teacher, the composer, and the performer that I was at that time. And we had lovely words, and it meant a lot to me that, one, she answered the phone, and two, that she accepted my words, and we had tears and we had excitement about what was coming up because, well, it wasn't really a Christmas concert, it was a winter solstice concert. And so those are the important things. Jason King, I loved you for the longest, just so you know. And you've never failed to be the loveliest. Thank you, brother. I wanted to also, I see that we're all enjoying, or most of us are enjoying something a little nice. So I wanted to raise a glass for Mary's birthday. We're getting mired down. I know I am. I can't stop crying. We're getting mired down in the sadness, but this woman has given us life, and she's given us a family, and what more could we want? So let's cheers to her. And a clunk. So I was saying goodbye to everyone and all of that, but there are still people to come after me, so I didn't want you to think this was the end. But it's so incredibly wonderful to connect with everyone, people that I honestly, Jason, you're the only one that I know like firsthand. So, but we're all a family, and I know it and I feel it. And so incestuous be damned. Here we are, and I love you all. So have a wonderful night. Goodbye, everybody.
Okay, my name's Tyler Dorsett, class of 99. I just want to say that my first 2 years in drama were with Miss McFerrin. It was her first 2 years of teaching drama. And Becky, I love you so much. You are so better drama teacher than you could ever dream. You made me half the actor that I was. Of course, DeCosta made me the other half. And my junior year, I was one of her drama assistants. I was there for Jessica's first year. I remember her, this little freshman on stage. You could just tell she was going to be great. But I was smart, and I knew I was smart. And DeCosta never gave me anything. And it was so frustrating. I mean, the next 2 years of high school, I graduated with this angst because DeCosta never said, "Oh, you're this wonderful, smart person that everyone knows you're a wonderful, smart person." And I carried that with me for the next 4 years until I graduated from college. And then I became an elementary school teacher. And I taught a year of elementary school. And then I got involved in coaching high school, or coaching football in high school at Woodham High School. So I was this big, burly football coach, which is really funny because I'm not big or burly at all, but I coached offensive line, the big hog mollies. And one day in the teacher's lounge, she slumped down in, typical DeCosta fashion. And everyone's like, what's wrong with you? And she was performing Hamlet that year, and her Michael Cassio had dropped out of high school. And we're like, oh, that's horrible. And it was less than a month before the play. And she was like, what am I going to do? And then she pointed one of those long talons at me and going, you can do this. I was like, I haven't been on stage since 1999. I don't know what you're talking about. But in that moment, it was, wait a second. I understand that she believes in me. And then, well, I played Michael Cassio. It was a fantastic play. But then the next year, Elke came in. I got to work with her, and to see how much she had affected other people's lives to be a fantastic teacher and director. It was amazing. This is amazing. I love you all. God bless Miss DeCosta. Take it away.
My freshman year of high school was 99-2000, and I was coming from a different district, so I didn't know anybody. It was completely different, and I was like, I want to do drama. Cool. I was scared to death. She scared the ever-loving out of me. But something happened that changed my life forever. Sorry, I'm going to start crying now. Freshman year of high school, my mother had passed away when I was 14 years old. And Mrs. DeCosta was the only person that was there for me. And she was so understanding, and she took me in. I didn't get to be, in any of the plays or this, that, and the other, but I got to travel and I got to do things I wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise. And she was such an amazing woman. And just, I think it was like last summer even, me and my husband ran into her, and I can't remember her name now, but English teacher that she's always hanging out with all the time. She was at Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. We ran into the both of them, and I just had to give her the biggest hug. But I'm not going to talk too much, but yeah, she was just an amazing woman in my life. Thank you.
Listening to you kids. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's wonderful. She was a very, very lucky lady to have all of you young people. Truly was. And I miss her every day. I miss her every day. She was a funny lady, and she loved you kids. So all the best to you. Stay safe. She's always with you. She's always with you. So happy birthday, Mary. And you kids be safe. Love you guys.
Well, everybody, I think we've made it. We've made it to the end of this shindig. We've made it to the end of this tribute. So I'm happy to see that people have gotten naked. Happy to see everybody's having a great time. It's exactly what Mary would want. I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to this in some form or fashion, especially our tribute team. And all of you, of course, for showing up to make this such a very, very special event. She would have been touched by your many, many memories. You're welcome, Beth. Memories and stories. So thank you for filling the seats, and happy birthday, Mary. And lastly, as I have promised, hang tight. Your special treat for making it all the way to the end is about to commence.
Whether the weather be cold, whether the weather be hot, we'll be together no matter the weather, whether we like it or not. That's it.